Hello and welcome, young adults. I am here surrounded by some of my students and friends to take a look at one of the book that I read for my kids at night when I put them to sleep. It's a very interesting book. Do you guys like children's books?
Yes.
Very much so.
That sounds like an adult in the morning. All right. Before I introduce the book, I will introduce my guests. Here we have an expert in childhood because he is like a big child, a 2 meters tall child.
Still at 21 now.
Yes, Theo,
Thanks
coming
for having me.
directly from Germany, just to be in this podcast. Then we have another expert with kids topics. You have been paid.
Teaching, yeah.
You've been a professional taking care of children of different ages, I guess.
Yeah, tutoring.
Yeah.
Mostly.
So Tira coming from LA, just to be in this podcast. And then we have Piotr from the Netherlands.
Yep.
What is your childish experience that you will bring to this podcast?
Well, I just turned 19, so I think I'm the closest child in the room.
You are a teen. You're the teen.
Mm-hmm.
So you will go back to your childhood experiences that happened yesterday.
Yeah.
And yes, my name is Angelo. I came all the way from Portugal just to host this podcast. And in my hands, I have the Encyclopedia of the Unbelievable Facts, written by Jane Wilshire and illustrated by Louise Lockhart. And it's a curious little book that can never stop flicking through. And I took in the liberty with a very modern technology called Post-its to mark some of the pages with some unbelievable facts that I'm gonna quiz you about. And it's not to make you look dumb. It's not like one of those, like in YouTube, you catch people in the middle of the street and ask them to point the country in a map, but it's to get you in tune with your children feelings.
Mm-hmm.
Because this begs more why questions and more curiosity. So here we go with the first fun fact. And it's a question about the human body. There's all sorts of different sections here. So whoever is feeling this can jump in. And the question is, who has more hairs on their body? A human or a chimp?
I think it's a trick question.
You think it's a trick question?
So I'm going for the human.
You're going for the human because you think it's a trick question. All right.
How, like from what you would imagine, it should be the chimp, right? They have hair on their whole body.
Yeah,
But-
from the looks of it, right? But they
Yeah.
are also smaller, so I don't know if that
That's
counts
true.
for something.
And what's the human anyways? Some human beings have a lot of hair, and some like me, they have no hair. Being the child.
I guess we're thinking about the average. Yeah.
The average unshaven human.
Yes.
You know.
Mhm.
Of course, there are some humans, of course, that could easily beat a chimp. But yes. So your final answer? Do you all agree? Is there like a what do you think? Human or
I'm
chimp?
sticking human.
You're sticking with human?
Yeah.
I would think. I would think human. We have hair, like that we don't even know is there. It's almost invisible.
That is true.
You know. And so like tiny little hairs, and so much of it on our head as well. So
Yeah,
I'm sticking with human.
we're not
All right.
accounting
So
for
we are
baby hairs.
we are on team human. There seems to be an agreement on the table. So the answer, according to this book, is that a human has as many hairs as a chimpanzee, but thin human hairs are harder to spot than a chimp's thick hair. So, and of course, hair helps us control our body temperature, and it has also other functions. Let us not forget the importance of hair. But it was a trick question, right? Because the answer was actually both have the same amount, fair, kind of an average.
Yeah.
Of course, Sean Connery had probably more hair than the average chimp. I don't know if you remember Sean Connery, one of the first.
Have you seen
James
that movie
Bonds.
Zardoz?
Zardoz? No.
Isn't that the
should-
movie with the
Is that a
flying
lot of-
house in space?
Yes.
Okay. Is that a lot of
It's one of the weirdest movies I've ever seen, but the punchline is unbelievable.
Okay.
Yeah.
It should be in this book then, if it's unbelievable. All right. So, how do you think children relate to body hair? They don't have many, right? They must be curious. They look at adults and think, why do you have hair on your face and in your, I don't know, armpits?
Good question.
I think they maybe just don't. I mean, I know that when I was a kid, I didn't really think about it. But I guess, I mean, also, though, I think I don't shave my legs now, but, or like my armpits now. But when I was like a young teen, that was definitely something like societally pressured on me. And I actually couldn't wait to do it. Like, I couldn't wait to have hair that like needed to be shaved.
Wow. What a great activity, shaving.
It was exciting the first time. It was,
Yeah.
you know, it was like a rite of passage almost. I felt like, oh, this is me growing up. So I think it depends on the age
Theo,
of the
I guess
kid.
you were never excited about shaving your legs? Is that
No.
something you didn't...
No.
Okay.
It was never something I was
It's-
looking forward
It's your loss. It's your
Oh.
loss. You didn't... I guess you're not a cyclist then.
And when I
or a
do shave
swimmer.
my legs, I feel like a dolphin and no one can catch me.
You can swim faster. You can not worry about cuts when you bike. I don't know. There must be reasons why cyclists do it. But yes, respect. Let's go into another area. This time, animals. Anyone an expert on? kind of
I've studied biology for 6 years, so
Okay. Then this question will not be something within your area because it's about animals, but not really. So, which animals flew on the first hot air balloon?
well,
So, a hot air balloon is it's a kind of a transportation way with a basket attached to a balloon that is under some enormous lighter that
We're
blows hot
talking-
air.
Non-human animals, right?
Yes.
Mm.
So
Okay.
we're
Oh,
talking
yeah.
about like regular animals that you could put in that basket. So whoever invented the hot air balloon decided to put some
Oh.
animals in this basket and let them fly. So they took a free ride. So which animals did they choose?
I think it's probably a house pet. It's probably a dog or a cat or something similar that is easy to domesticate.
I also want to say dog because I want to think like they were thinking like the Russian space program, you know,
yeah.
and they're like sending Laika up
yeah,
into
yeah,
the
yeah.
into the hot air balloon. Except maybe hopefully they brought the dog back down. They didn't just send the dog to die.
Having had a cat, I was thinking cats love laying around in one spot for hours, especially in a basket if they have one. So that would, for me, be the most natural thing. Putting a cat in there, the cat will enjoy the hot air from the hot air balloon. That would be the perfect animal to put in there.
And we know that some cats are friendly with dogs and they coexist. And it could be that the inventors had a cat and a dog and they decided let them fly first and enjoy the view. If they are already friends, let them go on a date. So cats and dogs.
Mhm.
Yes. And then, of course, if something went wrong and they fell from the basket, then it would literally be raining cats and dogs. I don't know if there's like a proverb that comes out of this. So the answer is, according to this interesting book, a sheep, a rooster, and a duck.
What?
Is that a Pink Floyd album?
Yeah, I don't know. So it was the year of 1783, and Montgolfier brothers, who were French inventors, put animals in a basket of their new invention called the hot air balloon. And the first flight lasted for about 8 minutes. And these three animals somehow had the flight of their lives. They went back home to tell all of their friends what just happened. No one believed them.
So it was a sheep, a rooster, and
A duck.
a duck.
What a selection.
It's
Oh.
quite unexpected, right?
Yeah.
Because I mean, you can clearly see they had a farm, right?
Yeah.
And they were doing
Yeah.
these
I mean,
experiments in the farm.
Those are also domesticated animals. But like what I'm wondering is were they all just hanging out together in the basket
Yeah.
or was it was like sheep and then the duck and then the chicken on top, like 1, 2, 3 in a stack.
Well-
I think they were all together in the same basket.
Okay.
I think you're thinking too difficult because it was 1790.
83.
Yeah, just throw it in there and hope
They
for the
could
best.
still stack animals back then.
Yeah, they could, but yeah,
The sheep could be like on the base of
Yeah,
the
the
basket,
sheep
and
is the
then
base.
the rooster on top, and I don't know.
It would definitely look cool, but considering it's a hot air balloon, you might have chicken wings soon.
It looks like the
Sounds
beginning of
awful.
a joke. A sheep, a rooster, and a duck are on a hot air balloon, and then, anything can happen. But when I thought about the choice of animals, the duck and the rooster are light animals,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
But the sheep is not light, from what I remember. So that kind of prevented maybe the balloon from flying away. Good choice. Alrighty. Now let's talk about the weather changes and planet Earth. Something happened in 1816, and that year became known as the year without a summer. Can you adults explain this? 1816, the year without summer.
Volcanic eruption.
Ooh.
Explain further, please.
Okay, good.
This was also the year that Mary Shelley wrote Frankenstein. So I actually know this one. There was a volcanic eruption. I can't remember where it was, but basically there was so much ash in the sky during that summer that there was no sunlight coming through.
You are absolutely correct. The
Damn.
volcano Mount Tambora in Indonesia blew up the year before, and this caused the large dust clouds to block out the sun, and temperatures fall across the world. So it was actually quite cold. Also, one other reason why people would maybe imagine summer, but also there was no light. Isn't that a bit scary?
It is.
That this can happen at any time, at any moment.
And that's why actually Mary Shelley and her husband Percy, they went to Lord Byron's house up in the mountains in Switzerland, and they had a scary story writing contest because it was so bleak.
Okay.
And
So-
then we got actually Bram Stoker's novel Dracula and Frankenstein out of that opium-filled night.
So I guess artists all over the world were under the influence of the mood created by being in darkness.
I knew I would
Interesting.
know one of these.
All right. So we move on to something a little different. So this is kind of like, do you feel like you know a general knowledge and how people feel and trends and like the vibe of the world right now?
Well, I thought I knew before I came to IBC, and now I'm more confused because everyone is just throwing out their facts about their countries, and I've never heard about it. And I thought I knew Japan for a bit, and then they did all hand signals and this and that, and I have no clue.
A little
So
bit
I'm
of a
confused
culture
now.
shock,
Mhm.
which is what we expect at IPC, of course, when you meet so many cultures. So here's the question. What is the world's favorite color?
Red.
Do you think more people around the world prefer the color red?
Oh no, not preferably. I think it's named green or blue because that's the most common ones that people pick.
Okay. Tiroteo?
I'm trying to think of the countries with the most people.
Yeah.
Do countries
India, China?
do they have different favorite colors, you think?
I don't know. You might have a preference because of where you live. So, I mean, I don't have a favorite color because I can't really decide. But I know I wear a lot of yellow, and that's because I come from a sunny coastal place.
Right.
But I don't know. I think my guess would be blue
Okay.
Mm.
or green.
Blue or green? So you're
Yeah, I'm kind of
in tune with the shows. And
Green sounds natural, but I was also gonna say red.
It could be red.
I feel like in kindergarten that was at least every second child's favorite color. I like red.
red stands out a lot,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Blue, green is more of a kind of natural, with what you look around and see. Yeah. So we have two aiming for blue and green, and one who stands out with red. And surveys say it's a bluey green color.
Nice.
That is the world's favorite color, bluey green. So you're spot on. But of course, I don't know if the Chinese population were persuaded to vote red, they will all vote red. I don't know if
Maybe
that
it's
was
in Germany.
Persuaded.
persuaded.
Mhm.
They could be easily persuaded. Yeah, but isn't that interesting? That it's the colors you see around that have an influence on what you think.
I think like blue to me is like ocean and green is like nature,
Yeah.
and so that's why it's sort of
And blue sky, of course.
in the sky. Yeah, so sort of calming things.
And you were saying because you live in LA, a sunny city, that yellow is kind of a color that you naturally.
Gravitate
wear.
towards, yeah.
What do you think of like people in Denmark who dress
Black.
a lot in grays
Gray.
and blacks and
Because it's dark and cold here.
you think also reflects kind of an inner feel. Also, black, I guess, is warmer.
Black
than-
contains all other colors.
Yeah, so it's warmer in
Yeah.
in reaction to the sun, to the little sun
Yeah.
that we have here in Denmark.
I did a little science experiment on that when I was a kid for the science fair.
Okay.
Yeah, on which colors absorb the most heat.
Mm.
It was black.
And how did you measure the temperature?
I had these 4 like metal panels. Was like one was red, one was yellow, one was black, and one was white.
Mhm.
And I had like thermometers
Okay,
taped on them. And then I had a heat lamp
nice.
like positioned above them, and then that's how I learned that black attracted more heat.
I never did cool things like that when I was in school. I never dissected frogs.
No?
I never. No, it was very. I don't know.
I dissected a cow eyeball, and
Me too.
Oh.
Yeah.
I hated it.
I think the best I had was an onion, which is super boring.
I did 3 things. I did a cow's eye, a pig's heart. It was disgusting. And
Wow.
then the frog. But the pig's heart was like the individual, like the chambers of the heart.
Mm-hmm.
And you had to dissect it, and then you put your finger.
Oh.
Oh god.
I'm sure someone went into heart surgery after that experience. They're like, "This
Oh.
is for me."
A lot of people almost vomited during the lesson because it was
Whoa.
just.
Okay.
We did a sheep brain as well. That was actually pretty cool.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
That's cool.
Alrighty. Nothing like this kind of conversation just before lunch. A more historical fashion question. How could a Victorian dress be highly dangerous? So Victorian dresses, we are talking about like those skirts. They're very like wide and maybe a corset or like puffy shoulders or puffy arms. How could those dresses be actually dangerous for the person using them?
Well, there is like with the like the big skirts or the dresses, they always have like a cup shape.
Yep.
But there is like a metal framework underneath, so
I can imagine it's
or you
heavy.
can just get stuck in a door, or you can't get anywhere, or can't get out of the corset. I can imagine many things that can go wrong.
I would have thought actually that it's about the waist part,
Mm.
that the corset is squeezing it so much that it makes it hard to breathe.
I also think I might know this one, but it could be something different that we're talking about. But I know that green dye in those times, I think it contained
Copper?
like
No.
some kind of poison actually, and so it wasn't actually just the dresses; it was green wallpaper as well. I think it had arsenic in it or something like that. And like people and also the people producing this green dye were like dying from it. So I don't know if that's what they're talking about, but that might be. It was a very popular color.
Yeah. So the lack of scientific knowledge while producing clothes, of course, led to some people just getting poisoned. So the huge skirt could be snagged in a carriage. So that, of course, we are not imagining how it was to just move around, right? But carriages were a bit dangerous, right? It's not like you would stop it immediately. And then the fabric could catch fire easily, especially near a fireplace. So it was very flammable. And some were dyed with arsenic, which is a deadly poison. So the colors that they chose also were a deadly color, literally. So I would advise you not to wear Victorian dresses unless they are very modern and safe and regulated. But it's interesting to know how people sometimes wear clothes because I don't know, it's a sign of status and wealth, but it also it's very risky. It's good to learn. I feel like we're learning something. And now a question for all of you bike lovers. Which city is thought to have more bicycles than people?
I already know this. It's Amsterdam.
Anyone
Well-
contests this answer?
I guess Amsterdam and Copenhagen are the
Yeah,
big
one of
bike
those two.
cities.
Yeah, my guess would actually be Copenhagen. Or, I mean, Amsterdam would be my second guess, but I actually think I'm more leaning towards Copenhagen.
Because I know like that people usually have like 2 bikes, but in their lifetime they usually have like 10 bikes up until there are like 20. So all these bikes go on second-hand markets and get sold to other people. So
Do you live in Amsterdam?
No.
But you've been there
countless
more than
time.
anybody else here.
Yeah, but that all the bikes keep in circulation of the people, so people would have like a couple bikes. So if it's not Amsterdam, I'm surprised.
And the correct answer, unsurprisingly, is Amsterdam in the Netherlands. I've seen some videos of municipal workers pulling bicycles out of the rivers or the
Yeah.
canals.
Yeah.
It's incredible how many bikes are just hidden. Of course, in plain view, they're parked everywhere. But there's bikes everywhere.
Yeah, they're just thrown into the canals, and like there are lots of like funny videos of like drunk people doing whatever on bikes, like carrying people, carrying beer, lots of beer. But there's a funny video of our prime minister biking to work, and every time in the COVID, when he was like having a hard time by people, so every time he would like bike to work, it looks really funny because he biked like really straight up, and he would just yell things at him and this and that. But it's so weird that our like prime minister goes on a bike, and the president of America has a bulletproof
Does that mean
vehicle.
that a city where there's more bikes than people, is that a modern city? Is that
No,
a more eco city? What does it reflect?
Well, you
What
can-
does it say about?
you can call it eco city now, but well, 20 years ago you would maybe call it an old city because we only have bikes and we don't have cars. But now it's more handy to have lots of bikes and to go green.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you don't see a ton of bikes in Los Angeles, but that's because it's so giant, but also it's not flat at all. When I went to Amsterdam, I remember it was pretty much
Yeah,
all flat, and that's the same thing with Copenhagen too, where you do see a lot of bicycles. But like Los Angeles is full of hills. It's not really efficient to get around on a bike there. Also, it's really hot.
And have you witnessed the invasion of the alternative to the bikes, which is these electric scooters, these companies that, created a system where people have easy access to these scooters paying with a phone. Did you witness this? Is this
Yeah.
kind of a...
Yeah,
was
I've
it
ridden them
successful or
before.
was it...
Yeah, and I think in all European cities, these are becoming very popular. Actually, not so sustainable as they say, because the batteries, they take up a lot of resources. But I think it also says something not only about the sustainability of moving, but also how the city is generally built, how safe it is, that you can travel without a car, either on a bike or on a scooter, and also about the distances, that it is relatively easy to reach other places quickly.
But that's what I think there's a difference between the US and Europe, because all European cities are fairly like old, fairly old, and like not even with like well constructed, but like it's mainly like kind of close together. And then you go to the US, you can't implement like those electric scooters in like Los Angeles or one of the big city, because it's just such a vast amount of, you have to have a car basically.
Exactly.
Well, the electric scooters are all over Los Angeles, but the thing about Los Angeles is that when it was being built, the car lobby basically like wanted Los Angeles to, it was kind of being built at the same time as like cars were becoming very popular, and so the car manufacturers paid a lot of money for Los Angeles to be built in such a way that it wouldn't support public transit and it would be very spread out, and you'd have lots of spread out neighborhoods, and so you'd have to have a car. And so like it's very common in Los Angeles for every member of a family to have their own car.
So the Encyclopedia of Unbelievable Facts, it's a good conversation starter
Definitely.
for any topic. Bicycles are giving kids the freedom and the power to go longer distances than they usually would. I remember when I got my first bike and I just felt I could go to the next city. And of course, it just makes you question how much hair do you have in your body. And it makes you question the clothes you're wearing and if it's safe to wear them. So there's all sorts of things to learn from these books. Usually I read this to put my kids to sleep, which is not very successful because then I want to continue reading and like learn more, and they're also curious and they keep asking why, but why this and why that. So maybe not the best book to put your kids to sleep, but still an intriguing way of learning about the world. Thank you to the three of you for joining me.
Thanks for having us.
And maybe in a future episode we'll learn something new. Thanks everyone for listening, and see you next time.